I'm Kristen here at Flowers and Fancies, and today I'm going to show you how to do a slightly more modern elongated arrangement that you could use to dress up your table for the holidays. So to start, we are using a 4-inch by 12-inch rectangle. To get the flowers in here though is a little bit more difficult. So we're going to tape this. Taping is a pretty common way that florists throughout the ages have created a grid to build their flower arrangements off of. And in this case, because it is so shallow and long, we need to tape it so that the flowers don't fall out. So you want to use a nice 1/4 inch tape. Please don't try to use regular cellophane tape. Like, I've tried it, it's horrible, it doesn't stick. You need to also make sure that your vase, when you start, you don't want to fill it with water first, you want to start dry. And you want to make sure that if you had to clean it for any reason, to take any stickers off of it, that the rim of the vase is completely dry or the tape won't stick to it. So I'm going to start going across, and I like about 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeters in between each of my lines. And you want it to come down on the side, maybe about 1/2 centimeter. It has to be enough that it's going to grab onto the vase, but not so much that you're going to see it after you fill it with the water. Okay, now once you have all of your lines going across your vase, you want to go back over them and press them down, make sure they're tight to the base, and then we're going to go the length of the vase. Okay, and then once you've completed that, press them down just like you did the other side, and then you're going to go all the way around the rim of the vase. So start up as high as you can because you don't want to see the tape under the flowers. This is really important. If you don't press it nice and tight, the water will get underneath of it, and then it'll just basically pull all of the tape off of your vase. So you want to make sure that it's really on there. Run your fingers around it a couple of different times and make sure everything is pressed down nice and tight. Then after that, you're going to want to take this over to your water source or once you have your vase full, and you don't want to go all the way to the tippy top because as you're going to add your stems in, it'll displace some of the water. Plus these vases slosh around a bunch, so if you're designing somewhere and you're going to move it, you probably want to wait to fill it all the way up with water until you get it to its location. You clean up some of the water around the outside of your vase and anything that's spilled on the surface around you. And then we're going to start in with our largest flowers, the hydrangea. So we're going to take our hydrangea, and this is a really pretty autumn green hydrangea, and take any of the leaves off. Down, trim it, and you'll see that there are a lot of stems coming off here, the laterals. For this, we're going to kind of smush them together because we're going to go into the tape with our laterals so that it holds them nice and tight, and that way it won't pop out, or as we add the flowers to it, it won't push the hydrangea or push the laterals apart. So we go ahead and going into like the middle, but a little bit off to one side. So I made myself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have about 6 or 5 going this way. So I'm gonna go one closer to this side from the center and just press this right in. For me, it's always looked the nicest to sort of wobble them instead of having them straight in a line, which gives you a little bit more of an organic look, but still keeps it nice and tight and full. Made like a little wiggly caterpillar in my vase. And I mean, honestly, this is a really pretty look. You could stop right here, add a little bit of foliage. It's a really simple way to decorate. I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple more of these mini green hydrangea because I just like the look of the layering. So I'm gonna take a few of these smaller lime green hydrangea and take some of the pieces off the side so that I have a nice compact bloom. We have a nice little foundation built here with lots of different color and texture, and then I'm gonna go on top of this with my roses. So I like to mix up some garden roses and some standard roses just for a little bit extra texture. Use whatever colors, whatever looks you like. The ones with the most petals I think are the most interesting. It's give like a really pretty look to your arrangement. You can open these a bit with your finger just to get them started, or just blow on them to sort of get those middle petals moving. And you're gonna cut them, clean all of the thorns and the leaves off. Now, I'm gonna group my flowers together a little bit here because I want it to look a little bit more modern and color blocked. At this point, you could spread them out more if you like to see everything a little bit more all around. You could do, you know, a rose here, a rose here, a rose here, a rose here. I'm gonna cluster mine together in 2s and 3s just so you have a little bit more impact of color, but this is where you can personalize quite a bit and make it look how you like. When I filled my vase with water, I filled it with lukewarm water. That's going to encourage the flowers to drink. But moving forward, as you change your water, if you wanna get these roses to open a little bit faster, you can do a little bit warmer water. If you would like to keep them from opening, you can do a little bit colder water. Add some more like foundational greens here at this point. So some of your larger leaf greens like lemon leaf, Israeli ruscus, anything that's kind of meant to blend. Next, I'm going to add some pincushion tortilla in because I just think they're a cool texture, and I'm going for something a little bit more modern. So again, I'm going to do these in groupings. I have 4, so I'm going to do a group of 2 and a group of 2 so that you can see them on both sides of the arrangement. And these, I'm going to clean the majority of the leaves off so that the stem is nice and clean. But I'm going to have them sitting up on top a little bit, so I'm not going to be as meticulous getting every single one of those leaves off because I'm not pushing it all the way down into the arrangement. I want them to sit up so they can be seen a bit. I also have these cool Safari Sunset. We use them a lot here. They're super duper long lasting, so we use them on our standing order work as well. And I'm going to clean this so that it's a nice clean stem on the bottom and the blooms on the top. As well. It's nice because it has this great rich color that works with summer palettes, fall palettes, winter palettes. Plus it has like the cool shape. It's a tropical flower called Leucodendron. In with my spray roses. And again, so you have to think when you're putting them into the arrangement, you're not going to be able to put this entire chunk in. So you're going to have to manicure it so that you can use as much of it as you possibly can. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 placements. So I'm going to take one like this, the bottom 2 blooms, clean all of the greens off and sort of press them together. And that's going to give you one sort of mirror or shadow behind the other. And so the greens touch the water. And then this one, these guys will probably get lost a little bit, so I'm going to take this lowest bloom off and clean it, and then put as well. Some blueberries and some thistle. I put these in more towards the end just because once all the focal flowers are in, you can sort of see what you're working with and where you still have some either low spots or some places that need some filling. I'm going to use the greens on this hypericum just because they're actually kind of pretty, but if they're not so great looking, you just want to trim them all off. And thistle. It's nice. It has a nice blue shade to it, but it also kind of has the more sort of interesting texture to it. So I'm taking all of these off from the stem. I'm going to use them all as individual placements. Now these have very delicate stems, so you want to be super careful when you're putting them in. Figure out where you want to put them, and I'm going to place this one kind of facing me. Work it down through, and you might kind of need to put a finger underneath the hydrangea and feel for where that tape is to press it through. If it hits the tape and you jam it in there, it's just going to bend the stem, and you'll end up with, you know, this little zigzaggy stem you can't use. Cymbidium orchids as kind of like a wow moment in your arrangements because their waxy blooms really stand out and they're super long lasting. You can order them from us as a full stem or as a bloom, by the bloom. You take them off of the stem and take them off of the stem starting at the bottom. Don't start at the top because you can use your blooms separately and then still have a really lovely, essentially full stem of orchids that you could use someplace else. You could use these, you know, if you're doing a tablescape, you could take a couple more of these off and just put them in votives or bud vases going down the table. Or you could just let this be its own thing, place it in a bud vase or a vase by itself, which is really cool. So I'm going to use this. I always cut it again after I take it off of the stem, just so it has a nice clean bottom, and then I put it into the water tube. And the water tubes have a nice thin bottom, so you don't have to worry about really like wiring them or doing anything to get them to stay into the arrangement. Just pick them right in and they'll stay put. And then I'm going to use some of this seeded eucalyptus. And this is like one of the finishing greens I was talking about. It has a super narrow stem, so you can add it in late without really disrupting too much of the other flowers. Both of my sides look pretty good. I'm happy with it. I can take it to where I'm going to display it on my table. Fill it up with water from there. Actually, this is pretty good. But you want to make sure it's filled to the very top. If your water starts to look kind of murky looking, since you have this taped, it's a little bit tough to change the water out. You might need an extra set of hands, but you're basically going to pick the entire piece up, take it over to your sink, pour as much of it out as you possibly can, and then you want to get either the faucet or a watering can down in the flowers and pour enough water in that it kind of comes over the sides of it and gets any of the icky little like debris and stuff off of the flowers out. But if you've been really meticulous as you've been going through it and you've been cleaning your stems really well, there shouldn't be that much debris in there, so hopefully there won't be that much that you need to actually take out. So here you go. Hope you've enjoyed following along. As you saw, you could have stopped right at hydrangea and had a really cool arrangement just with that. So feel free to personalize it as much as possible. You can do all this or part of it, all one color rose, more colors of roses, or fewer flower types, but just keeping in mind like the texture that you're adding into it and the shape that you're putting to it. Just make sure there's different stuff to look at, so it keeps your eye kind of moving throughout the arrangement. So thank you for joining us today. Thanks for watching. For more inspiration and availability, visit flowersandfancies.com or call 410-653-0600 and follow along with us on Instagram and Facebook.